Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm starting a little later than expected. I've just been super sleep deprived, but now we should be getting going. Let's see. If you're here, just say hi in chat, and I'm gonna be just setting up. I'm almost done, I think. Okay, that's not done, so I'll just fix that one real quick. All right. And welcome everyone to the weekly update. I missed the update on Saturday night. Uh, uh, Long story short, I got engaged that day, and in the middle of my peak busy season, peak busy season. So that day, I'd actually completely forgotten about the stream. I forgot that I had scheduled it, and uh, and so now I'm doing a makeup today because I had a canceled class. So yeah, that's me. And a couple more updates, I guess, on my side in terms of the course. Anyone who's interested in the course, I'm largely on track to the developer and I. We built the app, and now we're testing it on tutoring students. Hey, Joshua, we're testing it on tutoring students, and it looks like it's a pretty good improve. It's a pretty noticeable improvement to the tutoring experience. There's a lot more to work on right now, but the base experience works and makes sense, and even can feel fun. I think I think we need to take the lessons from this build and try to figure out how to apply it to other types of students. But for now, I'm primarily focusing on tutoring students, and it's looking good so far. Let's see. Um, and I guess really, if I lean into this, I should start selling my tutoring more intentionally with and this might actually change the way my tutoring looks. Right now, my first tutoring session is always 2 hours long, but it's possible that with the app, we could find a way to make the first session a little shorter. And that way, I could probably do more sales calls and stuff like that. So those are some thoughts on my mind. On top of that, there's also the course itself, and I'm thinking about building out on the course. Uh, the course will the course will be something I keep building on for the next year. And I already have a lot of ideas for what to add to my course because, during the summer, I've just been teaching a lot of things in my in person classes that I realize are not fully captured in the course. So I need to update the course. And I want to make shorter videos. Right now, the first version of the course is just a lot of long videos, but I want to chunk it down into shorter videos. But the course is 10 hours of video. I mean, it's already a lot. It's a lot of information. so, so, uh, pretty happy that it's out there still. Makes me happy to think about it. All right, guys, let me know if you're here and just say hi. Let me know what's on your mind. It is 5 days before the August SAT. So, really, by now, you guys should all be sort of tuning up and sort of getting to a rhythm. Shouldn't be doing too many new things anymore. Everything, all the experimenting, all the learning should be done by now, and you should just be into a regular rhythm, uh, taking the test in the same way. Maybe take two practice tests between now and Saturday, and these last two, you should be just sticking to your principles, sticking to your techniques, and making sure that you just build up that confidence in yourself. So that, I guess, would be my main advice for the 5 days leading up to the August SAT. Not really. I don't really recommend moonshots in the last 5 days. It doesn't I mean, you might get lucky, but you probably, yeah, you might get lucky, but it's hard to bank on moonshots. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at RSAT. Magic for the boys, welcome. Improving vocab. I mean, the most basic thing to do is to make your own vocab list, and you should be adding words to the vocab list that either you don't know the definition of, but you've seen before, and words that you do know the definition of, but you keep forgetting how to use, and you can't think of example sentences. Let me say that one more time. You do know the definitions of them, but you don't know how to put them into an example sentence. So those are words that you should put into your vocab list. And where should they come from? They should come from not just the answer choices. Everyone just focuses on the 4 words in the answer choices. Don't just focus on the answer choices. And don't just focus on the word and context questions. Basically, any question type, any passage, when you review that practice test, you should scrape them up. You should scrape them up clean. Get every word in the passage and the question of every question type, and add them to your vocab list if you have seen them before but you don't know the word, or if you know the word but you don't know how to use it in a sentence, right? Have those in your personal vocab list. Now, it's 5 days before the SAT. You're not going to really improve your vocab. So here's a second piece of advice there. Have a correct prediction, okay? A lot of times, like I find that like 75% of the times when people blame vocabulary, they're actually blaming the wrong thing. Because they're saying, oh, A, B, C, D, I don't know these words. Like, okay, you don't know the words, but you can still make a statistically optimal choice, right? And how do you make a statistically optimal choice? Do you just panic by looking at A, B, C, D and just plugging them in and seeing what works, seeing what sounds good or whatever? Okay, that's awful. You make a statistically optimal choice. How? By making a correct prediction. And a lot of the people, when they make a correct prediction, even if they don't know 2 of those 4 words, sometimes even 3 of those 4 words, which is kind of extreme, but even when they don't know those words, they can get the correct answer. Okay, and the way that works is you can take the words that you do know, and if it doesn't match your prediction, then you eliminate it. Then if you have maybe 2 left, then you just 50-50 it. That's statistically optimal, right? So you can be wrong better than before. Like let's say without a prediction, you're just guessing A, B, C, D, and with a prediction, you can eliminate C and D, so you're stuck between A and B. Well, that means that you can guess 50-50 A, B and get it wrong. And that would be getting it wrong better than the stupid sort of ABCD plug it in and panic, right? And yes, on your test result, it'll show up the same way. You're still the same -1. But across an entire test with questions of varying difficulty, if you keep predicting the correct answer, you'll have a higher score. Make the statistically optimal choice. Don't just, panic. Again, 75% of the times when students come to me and like they give me examples to look at, I'm not just talking about random kids on YouTube. I'm talking about kids that I actually can chat with and figure out exactly what they're thinking. They blame vocabulary. It's not their vocabulary. They're not even predicting. Like they can definitely, like a lot of times, even with the vocabulary that they do have, you can make a prediction and you can eliminate the wrong ones and then end up at the right one. even though you don't know the right one, even though you don't know the word for the right one. Or sometimes you do know for the right one, but they still don't choose it because they didn't have a prediction. It's ridiculous. Bana is saying hard to concentrate on hard passages. I mean, I don't have, well, here's my tip. If you're scoring below 650, sacrifice them. It's not really worth it. Why would you waste your time on hard passages if you're scoring B50? If you're scoring below 700, then take the 10 hardest questions and focus on the bottom 3 of them. If you're scoring 700, focus on bottom 3 of them. Sacrifice the top 7 of them. If you're scoring 750, then and you still can't concentrate, then this is a separate issue that's it's probably specific to you, and but if you're 750, you actually kind of should know what I'm saying when I say this. Okay. Analyze the structure of the text, okay? Treat every question like an overall structured question first. Analyze the structure of the text, and cover the answer choices, and look at the question and make a prediction, okay? Even though it's not an overall structured question, as long as you have the overall structure clearly sorted out in your mind, then you should be able to see what parts of the passage might be at play with that passage, with that question. So if you are above 750, I hope that tip works for you. But if you're not even there on the hardest questions, to be frank, you're probably losing points. Not on those questions, you're probably losing points on some of the easier questions you keep getting wrong because you're spending too much time on those questions. So losing focus is a real problem, and it has to be solved at some point. But in the 5 days before the test, I mean, how much can you really solve that? I mean, in my course, I talk about threading. I talk about identifying transitions. And I talk about how to make a big course. A big passage is it's like a full dungeon in an RPG. There's a lot to do, right? So this sort of concept that you want to do is you want to sort of sequence that dungeon into multiple little enemies or whatever that you have to fight, and so a long passage, right, that's very dense might feel like something you can't navigate, but actually there are steps to follow, and you can follow those steps to sort of break that passage down. It's just that right now to you the steps seem too large and undefined and vague, and so that's why you just get lost and you zone out or whatever. But if we can chunk it down to steps that are very, very small and immediate and something you can work on in the next 10 seconds, right, then you will not lose focus. So how can you start improving that in the 5 days before the test? Realistically, you can't. I mean, maybe, I don't know, I could say it, identify transitions, identify potential characters, make sure to thread the characters correctly so that when there's a character reference at the bottom that you know that which character is referring to up top. I can say all that right now, but I don't really know realistically how much you can improve without actually having a specific example to talk about. So when you are struggling to focus on when you're struggling with a certain question, I want you to sacrifice those questions and just keep your confidence high. Focus on all the questions that you can solve with confidence. Get those done. Get those out of the way. Okay. The SAT actually should feel good. It should feel good. It should feel almost fun, actually, because you are primarily focusing on the questions that you can have high confidence on. So you go from question 1. Okay, that was manageable. You're high confidence. Number 2. Okay, that's really hard. Not high confidence. I'm going to make a guess. I'm going to move on. Number 3. Kind of hard again. Right? I'm going to guess. I'm going to move on. And number 4. Okay, that was manageable. High confidence. Now, here's what happens. If this is your mentality, you have literally just spent 4 minutes right now Okay, you have spent 4 minutes right now, and you are at question 5 now because you're done with question 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have a tentative guess for 2 and 3. But you know what? All the other kids in that same room as you know what they're going to be at? They're still going to be at question 3. They're still going to be at question 3 when you're at question 5, because what they did is they let their confidence drop on question number 2, and then at that completely deflated position, they went into question 3, and they're continuing to let their confidence drop even further, right? They're just hitting rock bottom now. And the whole flow, their whole rhythm, their whole cadence is all broken. Don't let your confidence drop like that, okay? Just if a passage is something you can't even focus on, dude, you use whatever stupid trick you know, make a guess and move on. Okay, but don't let your confidence drop. At 4 minutes, the College Board can give you like 2 really hard questions. Just skip and just guess and move on. If you guess and move on, and you can keep your confidence at a high level, okay, then the initial pass through, the first pass through of the test will feel good, and that's what you want it to be. You want it to feel good when you do the initial first pass through of the 27 questions. Then in module 2, it depends on your score level again. Paradoxically, if your score level is actually closer to 650, you'll actually have more time. Okay, if your score is closer to 700, you'll probably have less time. But maybe if you're 650, you could have up to 10 minutes left. In module 2, you can have up to 10 minutes left. You can have up to 10 minutes left after the first pass-through. Then you take those 10 minutes and you focus on not the hardest questions. You focus on like the medium difficulty questions, the ones that you bookmarked, okay? The ones that you bookmarked, the ones that you feel like you could recover, okay? You might have bookmarked a large number, actually. You might have bookmarked like 10 questions, maybe 12, right? Out of those 12, you're not even going to try to see all 12 of them. You're going to maybe try to see 6 of them, okay? If you're 650, that's what you're going to try to do. You're going to look for like this bottom half of them, and then you're going to just chill out and just sort of slowly work your way up from like the medium difficulty questions to the hard difficulty questions. And if you do that, then you're gonna keep the level of challenge kind of consistent throughout, right? You're not just gonna suddenly crash and burn in the middle of the test. You start at high confidence. Then after the first pass through, when the time pressure is kind of like off of you, now you're working on some of the questions that are like a little lower confidence, and then you try to take that slightly lower confidence, you try to build it back up, okay? And then if you've done all of that for like the medium difficulty questions, then you kind of swoop in and start doing some of the questions that are really hard, the ones that are like lowest confidence, and again, you try to bring them up one by one, but you're not trying to do all of them. Don't try to do all of them. Just, randomly guess for the remaining 6 or whatever, or remaining 5, but just work at your speed, work at your level. Magic is saying, what are your tips for not overspending time? Actually, I kind of answered this when I was talking to Bana. For not overspending time, though, I'll be a little bit more specific for that particular question. To not spend too much time on a particular question, what do people usually say? People usually say, what unit of measurement do people use? They say, you shouldn't spend more than 1 minute on a grammar question. You shouldn't spend more than 1 minute on a vocab question. That's what they say, right? But the problem with time is you have to keep looking at the timer. And that's actually, some people like that actually, so I'm not going to say it's absolutely terrible. It's not absolutely terrible. But it's hard to remember how much time you spent on a question. It's not easy to know how much time you spent on a question. The College Board doesn't show you how much time you spent on that question, right? So you can just, if somebody tells you don't spend 1 minute on a vocab question, then like you could like try to measure 1 minute, but it's so unnatural, right? It breaks your flow every time you have to look up at the timer. So what's the solution? To avoid spending too much time on a question, I do not recommend trying to measure the timer. It's actually really hard. Instead, I recommend creating a rule or a trigger, like an AI agent or something. There's a trigger. When this happens, then I'm going to skip and return. So you have to just define that. You have to define it where when this happens fast enough on even the hardest questions that if you follow this rule all the way through, you will always have the time left over. And for me, what I teach when I'm teach, I mean, because I don't just yap at my students. I like watch them solve. I make sure like I watch them manage their time and stuff. I've done this for like hundreds of students now. I like the rule that I have that I think works for basically everyone. Although for more advanced students, there's some variations you can do on this, but the rule that I have is you get to read every answer choice slowly only once. Okay, so on the first pass through, if you look at question, I don't know, 4, which could be sometimes really hard, right? Actually, I don't want to say 4 because 4, that's like a vocab question. It's only one word each. So let's go to question like 11 or something. I say it could be really hard. You read the passage, you make a prediction, A, B, C, D. You try to match. You're not going to have a match. Okay, it's just it's a hard passage. You look at A, B, C, D. There's nothing that matches what you were thinking. Okay. Now you get one shot for each one question. You'll read A slowly all the way through and make sure it can all be defended with evidence from the text. As you try to defend it, you will notice that things are maybe wrong with A. If that's the case, then you can eliminate. You do the same thing for B. Read it slowly all the way through without comparing to A. You only read B. You're only focused on B, and you try to defend B. Maybe right, maybe wrong, okay? Measure your confidence. Is it high, is it medium, is it low? Do the same thing for C. You try to defend it slowly. Do not compare to A or B. Just read C only slowly once, and you're noticing there's some parts of it that you cannot defend. Eliminate. Finally, D. You again read it slowly. You do not compare to A or B or C. You find you can kind of mostly defend it. Maybe right, maybe wrong. Confidence, medium. Okay, so what happened? You eliminated A, you eliminated C, you have B, you have D. You already spent 1 whole minute on this whole process. Okay? This is not even counting how much time it took you to read the passage in the first place and predict the match in the first place. So you're probably already hitting like close to 2 minutes, if not more, by this point. You're done. The temptation here is to go from D to B to D to B and keep comparing. You've already read it slowly, and this sort of vertical reading where you're jumping between B and D, that's actually going to fragment your thoughts, and you're more likely to make dumb mistakes in that process. You've read it slowly, and you've measured your confidence once. That's it for now. That is your first pass, and you get one. So, and to summarize that means you get one shot, one question, okay, or one question, one shot rather. One answer choice, one shot. My bad. I can't speak right now. One answer choice, one shot. One choice, one shot. And if you have 2 medium confidence answers, then you just 50-50 it. You choose B or D, and then you move on. As long as you are always sticking to one choice, one shot, okay? As long as you never do the sort of comparative elimination, like bullshit that everyone else talks about, which I think is awful for your reading and makes it more frenetic, makes it more chaotic. Okay, as long as you read through each answer choice only once on the first pass through, you will have time left over at the end. Okay, so you can come back to this later. But no one knows this, right? Because no one really measures themselves. No one really uses a stopwatch to measure how much time they take. And even when they do, they don't even notice the difference. They don't notice how much time they take on the answer choices. They always blame the passage. You guys always blame the passage. You always think it's the passage that's wasting your time, when actually it's the process of elimination that's wasting your time. All I can say is I've seen it over and over and over. And I bet you will see it too. If you record a video of yourself, I bet you will discover that you are wasting time in proselytination. You're not actually wasting time on the passage. Reading poetry, old literature. I mean, I don't know. It depends on your vocabulary and your score. Do you know what thou is and thee and thy? Do you know the conjugations? Do you know what ere means? E-R-E. Do you know what this is actually connected to your earlier question, but do you know some of the more common words that come out? You should know all those words. Ere means before, E-R-E. That means before. Anon means soon. There are some words that come out frequently that you should just know for poetry and old literature. But barring the vocabulary aspects, right? I think the other thing is most people, when they start reading poetry, they start becoming gleefully unshackled from grammar. Like suddenly you think that the moment that you're reading poetry, grammar no longer exists. That's ridiculous. The punctuation marks might look different. Like they might use a semicolon instead of a comma. Where we would use a comma, they might use a semicolon, right? And the capitalization might be a little funny. But if you ignore the punctuation and if you ignore the capitalization, the sentence structure is grammatical. The College Board will not give you a poem that is grammatically ambiguous, because it's hard. Well, I don't want to promise it, because I'm noticing the College Board is taking a lot of they're doing a lot of different things these days. But up until now, I've not seen the College Board give grammatically ambiguous poems. Okay, as long as you look for the grammatical structure of that sentence, okay. If you treat the poems like sentences rather than lines, and you actually pay attention to the grammatical structure of it, you can eventually break it down. But that really depends on how good you are at grammar. The worse your grammar is, the worse you are at poetry. Like, you have to be good at grammar for poetry. If I say something like, making this up right now, I don't know if it's even going to make sense, but into the air, whereupon it twists and turns and falls upon the head of one innocent child, shoots a spitball, so slimy, so gross. Like, I just made that up right now, but if you can grammatically parse that right now, then there's no reason you shouldn't be able to grammatically parse that on a poetry passage, right? But that requires grammar, not vocabulary. Like, you need to be able to like restructure that sentence so it makes like modern sense. And a lot of kids don't, like, a lot of your especially if you're in an American school, like no one in American schools, like barely anyone teaches grammar in American schools. And so it's like you can feel your way to the meaning, but that's the problem. Like in American schools, you kind of feel the way to the meaning, and then you write a whole essay on that feeling, but you're not ever sure. It's kind of an exercise. Most American high school English literature essays are either an exercise in bullshit or an exercise in using a predefined set of terms, like alliteration or whatever, and then just like doing an Easter egg hunt. Where's the alliteration? And then just looking for it, and then making a list of alliteration examples, but then just like sticking them in like in an essay format, in a 5-paragraph essay format where you just write about it. And it's just like, you could have just made a list, man. It's like not even, you have no insights. You might as well have just written a list, but you're pretending that you have insight by turning it into a 5-paragraph essay, and it's an awful habit. But now I'm ranting, so let me go back to the question. The question is, how do you tackle hard poetry, old poetry? Treat it like sentences. Do not gleefully unshackle yourself from grammar. Okay, the grammar still means stuff. work with the grammar. Treat it like sentences and memorize the most common old, like 19th and 18th century vocabulary, like ere, E-R-E, before, ere, before, hence, hence and thence, like from here, from there, hither and thither, to here, to there. You know, like these are words that you should like, like learn. Theoretical, morbid. Hey, what's up? Theoretical, what's up? Stupid question. Scratch paper. Yes, it is allowed. Yeah. Oh, morbid. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the assist. It's totally allowed. Okay, I'm slowly waking up. So let me see. I'm gonna stick around just a couple more minutes, but just want to say, I'll take any final questions because I should probably go soon. But in the final days leading up to the August SAT, I do not bite off more than you can chew. Okay, focus on nailing down the parts that you can do well, and on the real test, just commit to doing those parts well. If you do everything that you've been doing so far, okay, and you focus on the parts that you're doing well and you just do those parts well one more time, you will get the same score that you've been getting in your practice tests. But because you're focusing on the parts you're doing well and you're skipping and returning on any questions that feel like they're harming your confidence, you'll actually have extra time left over at the end of module 2. And as long as you have that extra time left over, then you can be a little less tense, a little less like panicky, and you can kind of look over the landscape, right? And choose which enemies you're going to fight. You're going to choose whether to fight, question number 3 or 8 or 12 or 13 or 14 or 16, right? You can make your choice because you have extra time at the end. And that's where you want to be. And as long as you give yourself that as long as you give yourself that opportunity to hit the top of that hill, right? The question 27, and then you can look back over this landscape, right? You will probably score better than you were doing on your practice tests. Does that make sense? Focus on what you're doing well, get through it, finish the 27 questions, and then pick and choose a couple harder questions to go back to. You will probably score better than you've been doing on your practice test. All right, guys, any more questions? If not, guys, good luck on the August SAT. I don't really want to pump my course because I don't think my course really makes a lot of sense for people who are studying 5 days out. But if you have a lot of time, like if you're not at school and you have a lot of time and you want at least a framework for understanding how to approach a test, you could sign up for my course. It's a monthly subscription, $30 a month, and you can cancel right away. So how do you do that? That's the link is down here somewhere. And I guess if you did sign up for my course today, then I would say probably the first 2 units are the only ones you should focus on, because like trying to do I don't know, it makes me feel uncomfortable, like imagining a student trying to do all five units in the next 5 days. That seems like probably not enough practice. You should balance it with more practice. So it would be kind of stupid to try to do all 5 units in 5 days. Instead, just focus on the first 2 units, which talks about how predict and match works on every question type, and also how to build confidence in your answer choices by defending your answer choices, like the process of defending your answer choices. So those are 2 of the major pillars of my test-taking approach: predict and match and defend. And that's all in the first 2 units of the course. So yeah, if somebody is just like last minute, like you need a strategy, then I guess you could do that. but I don't even necessarily recommend it because you need to. You only have 5 days. Like you should just be locking down your actual strategy by now. Yes, and just as a confirmation answer for Magic, do I believe first run, more confidence, being slower with the text instead of doing PoE, sacrificing some of the harder ones? Yes, yes, because even though you're sacrificing some of the harder ones, okay, you're gonna get to that hilltop and you're gonna be able to take a little survey of the land, and you're gonna be able to pick and choose which harder ones you're gonna go back on and invest more time in. So much better to intentionally spend 1 or 2 more minutes on a question than to just be drawn into this fucking battle, right? You're just like slashing and slashing and slashing and slashing, and you're on and you're like fucking bloodied up, and you spent 4 minutes, and guess what? It's question 3. You know, like it's fucking awful. It's awful to be drawn out in this battle, right? With a hard question. On question number 4, like, and then 5. You know, like sometimes that happens, right? You've all experienced this. Like in module 2, the first 5 questions are like crazy hard. Have you know, like so awful to be drawn out in battle like that. Don't. Jab it a couple times, okay? Give it some wounds, okay? And then flag it, you know, and take a shot, like aim for B or whatever, you know, and then come back, and decide which enemy you're gonna go for intentionally, right? Lakshmi, yeah, hey, welcome, and hi, and I'm actually wrapping up the stream, so gonna say bye, but you got this. Just remind yourself every day between now and Saturday. Remind yourself of all the progress you did make. Okay, maybe 1 month ago you didn't even know what a dangling modifier was. Maybe 1 month ago you didn't even know how to do subject-verb agreement when the sentences had like multiple like dependent clauses and modifiers in between. But now you do, right? Hey, that's progress. Remind yourself of these things because those are real change. Those are real changes. Sorry, I can't speak. Those are real changes, right? Like no matter what happens on Saturday, that really happened to you in the last month. Right? And you really did learn the different question types, and you learned how to approach the different question types. Those are facts. So keep reminding yourself of the progress you did make, and lock in all the good parts. Everything that's a little iffy, like you've heard the tip, but it doesn't feel like it's working for you, just toss them out your way. Like gleefully discard the other pieces of advice that don't make sense to you. Anything that doesn't really work for you, just toss it in the bin. But everything that did work for you, just keep reminding yourself of that and just commit to those. All right, guys. So good luck on the August SAT. I think I might. Hang on, let me see if I'm scheduled. Let me just double check my schedule. Am I gonna do one more stream? Okay, in US time, I will do one more stream on Friday night. So that will happen. But hopefully by that point, all of you guys will already be feeling good, and you won't really need to have any questions to ask me, because you already know what your approach is going to be. Okay, you already know what your approach is going to be, because you're going to fine tune it, and you're just going to build a commitment to a particular approach between now and Friday night. So on Friday night, if I do see you, okay, I hope to hear that you now know what your approach will be. You've locked that down. Okay, good luck, lock it down, and see you in the next one. Until then, keep on learning, keep on growing. Peace.